There's only one thing that's certain in the American League East this year, and that is it makes no damn sense. Let's bring in Gabby from Locked On Red Sox to see if we can make any sense of insanity.
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to a Locked On MLB, Locked On Red Sox crossover. This is the podcast. We talk about either all of Major League Baseball or the team that I grew up rooting for, the Boston Red Sox, all year long. We are here with you. I'm not flying solo today. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. But on the screen right now, we used to call her Gabby Hurlbut, but you know what? We had enough of that. That was too easy to pronounce. It is Gameday Maljanian, the host of Locked On Red Sox. Great to see you again, Gab.
Yeah, great to see you too, Sully. Always a good time when we do these crossover shows together. There's always usually something big and chaotic going on that we discuss. So definitely looking forward to this.
Heaven forbid we have a normal month. By the way, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 at bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Put your comments right here. Gabby, where can people follow you?
Yep, people can follow me on Twitter, now X, at Gabby Maljanian. You can follow Locked On Red Sox, also at LO_Red Sox. I am very active on there if you're a baseball fan, so get used to that. You cannot escape the baseball content anywhere on my social media platforms, because if you want to see even more of it, you can follow me on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10 as well.
And you're on there you're posting stuff like all the time. You are like the on the Instagram stories too. It's like there's another one going like, and it's like, I can't believe Willie Abreu grounded out. We'll see what happens next pitch. I mean, it's really like sometimes really. By the way, if you're gonna send any post on any of the social medias, use that hashtag Everyday Sully for me. Or for Gabby too, but for me. So it helps us find some of the people making the comments. And before we dive into the American League East, which is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now, let's do yesterday's trivia question, because we actually did a full Marlins show. A lot of people don't realize the Marlins are playing. They lost today, but they played a great, fun brand of baseball for the last month or so. And while I don't think they're going to contend this year, we did a crossover yesterday, and I think they're going to be a good team next year. And the question was, who recorded the first stolen base in the history of the Marlins franchise? And C_Cadam, who I think is an everyday Sully listener, I've seen him sometimes, said the first Marlins stolen base was by Jeff Conine, and he got it right. Actually, I just gendered. I don't know. C could be Caroline. I don't know. C could be Carrie. I'm sorry, C. Cadam. I don't know, but you're correct, and I found that to be unusual because those early Marlins teams had a lot of big base stealers, and Jeff Conine was not one of them. But he recorded the first one in their history, and those beautiful teal helmets, which, oh boy, got to go back to them. All right. Well, let's see if I can tie it back to an AL East talk. When the Marlins were formed in 1993, the Blue Jays were the defending World Series champs and would go on to repeat. And as we record this right now, the Blue Jays are still in first place. Landed it. Nailed it. Just like we all predicted, the Blue Jays are in first place in late July by 3 games. By 3 freaking games. And even though the Yankees have, the Yankees are weird because they have won 7 of their last 10 games. It seems like they've lost all of them, but somehow they've won 7 of their last 10 games. I don't know. That makes sense. The Red Sox have gone on a massive winning streak, and somehow they're only 5 games out. Or they're 5 games out. The Rays looked helpless. They're 6 games out. What the heck is going on? And the Orioles, who a lot of people picked to win the freaking division, are putting for sale signs on anyone who isn't nailed down right now. What in the name of Dwight Evans is going on around here?
It's been crazy. This division has been definitely unpredictable, I will say, to say the least. I remember recording an AL East preview show with a bunch of the other AL East hosts prior to the season starting, and the majority of us did pick Baltimore to win the division. I had my concerns about the Orioles with the people that they had lost in the offseason and not really a whole lot to replace said people, Corbin Burns being the biggest name in that mix. But I still thought they were going to win the division. I was like, this is a talented Orioles team with still a lot of good pieces. And I truly thought they would still be a good competitive team this year. So that alone has been surprising to me. Toronto, I always knew was a team that had the talent, but was never executing that. Over the last few seasons, they really just were underperforming. That just became a thing with the Toronto Blue Jays. And now all of a sudden they seemingly are actually utilizing the talent that they have on that roster and seemingly putting things together. And they kind of just came out of nowhere because earlier in the season they were in the mix, but they weren't leading the division until really recently. And the Yankees, you mentioned somehow having won 7 of their last 10 games. It doesn't feel that way because they really have not played overall great baseball as of the last couple months, I would say.
Well, the last month and a half, a game ahead of the Rockies and White Sox in terms of their record.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've had about a month of not just losing games, but being dumb. Like the guy being thrown out at third base. They call up some poor schmuck rookie, and he gets thrown out. Granted, it was an amazing throw by Acuna, but he's kind of jogging in, cracking his knuckles, and like, oh, shoot. And then you have, Jazz Chisholm doesn't know what out it is, and Aaron Boone is like, oh, my pitcher's throwing 20 pitches. Let's throw a bullpen game out of the All-Star break. And they're going to be they're going to be playing the Blue Jays next, which means either the Yankees can make up a lot of ground on Toronto, or Toronto can put them in the dust.
Yep.
And this isn't even counting the Rays, who they last couple of games, and they're playing in a minor league park, but they're going to be on the road for the majority of the season because I don't know if you've ever been to Florida, Central Florida in the summertime. I've been to Central Florida in the summertime. That's no place to play a baseball game.
No.
They're going to be on the road.
Yeah, and I mean, Tampa Bay also, I mean, that Red Sox 4-game sweep of the Rays definitely was huge for Boston in terms of those division standings as well, because the Red Sox were 10.5 games out of first place as of like a month ago. And now all of a sudden they're right in the mix too. So sweeping the Rays and taking care of business right before the All-Star break was key for this Red Sox team. And this division really is wide open right now. Nobody's running away with it right now. And it will be interesting to see how that series between the Yankees and Blue Jays unfolds, because as long as the Red Sox decide they want to win games and continue that competitive version of baseball that we've been seeing, they could gain a lot of ground on either one of those teams coming up here based on how that series goes between Toronto and New York.
By the way, right now we're seeing the Mariners are playing the Astros well. The Mariners are putting pressure on everyone too. The Rays are putting pressure on everyone. There's no guarantee if you're the Yankees, Red Sox, or Rays that you have a wild card spot. I mean, that's another thing to keep in mind. And we got the trade deadline in a couple of weeks. Gabby, it's banana boats. It's absolutely banana boats. It's raising the heat. I need to turn on my air conditioning. And speaking of air conditioning, get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources of the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from more than 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast and from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. For trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Sing that song with me. Supplyhouse.com. All right, Gabby. We haven't talked since the Devers trade.
We have not.
I was in Germany, and I saw the Devers trade, and I thought it was one of those clickbait things, like saying this proposed trade of a star could lead. I mean, you see that all the time. This proposed trade of trading Aaron Judge to Cleveland would do this. I thought it was that, and then I got like 3 or 4 messages on my WhatsApp app that you would have thought there was a death in my family, and I'm like, what they traded Rafael Devers for a VHS copy of Superman 3 and a half-eaten Papa Gino's pizza and a Carvel ice cream cake. And I said, what's going? And I said, they're punting. They're punting. I can't believe they're punting. And right after they swept the Yankees, they're going to punt. And they dropped 7 of their next 10 games. And then they couldn't figure out how to lose. And all of a sudden, they went from punting to the playoffs. And now, and while they lost the first 2 games out of the gate from in Chicago, William Abreu said, hey, wait a minute, I can pretend I'm Rafael Devers. And that's pretty much what's happened. And while I don't think the Red Sox are going to make up 5 games. I don't think they're going to get past Toronto, but the wild card is really, really big time in play. Right now, they are, as of this recording, they are the 3rd wild card team. They are trailing Seattle and New York, and they're barely ahead of Tampa. And by the way, Texas and the Angels are sneaky, and Minnesota are still hanging around. They're one good August away from hanging around. What the hell is what is this Red Sox team? What are they?
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster of a season because those first couple months were very rough. And I had high hopes going into the season because of the offseason that they had and the moves that they did make to improve this team. And they just were not able to put everything together early on, especially with the pitching. And the way that Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito in particular have been able to turn things around over the last month plus has been the biggest game changer, I would say, in the Red Sox playing better as of late. They're getting length from those guys, and it's really allowing the bullpen to not be as taxed. And that, to me, has truly been what's helped turn the tide here. And you wonder, looking back on the Rafael Devers trade, if there was some truth to the reports about the clubhouse and his personality within the Red Sox clubhouse, and if they were looking long-term and saying, we need to do what's best for the organization long-term, and what's best for the organization long-term is to not keep him here. And, Alex Bregman coming back from his injury is certainly something that should be good for the Red Sox in the second half of the season, but it's just been a roller coaster to navigate. And the offense going into that series in Chicago could not figure things out. And I was so frustrated because you look at an offense that could explode at any time. And you saw it in the last game against the Cubs, but they couldn't hit in those first 2 games. And I said, is this a result of the All-Star break and them not swinging for a few days, or what's the deal here? And now they have some crucial games coming up. The Phillies and Dodgers coming up this week on the schedule. Those are no joke of teams. Those are teams that they really can, if they beat them, show, hey, we're the real deal and we're in it. But if they go and they drop, 4 of those 6 games against those 2 teams, then we're looking at a situation where people are going to say, oh, the Red Sox aren't for real because they can't beat the best that the league has to offer.
So the Dodgers have been there as of this recording. I know you're all hearing this after the games have ended, but as of this recording, the Dodgers are winning, but they've been on a bit of a losing streak recently. It's been and it's hell. I mean, part of it is because they're playing the Brewers, and the Brewers are actually a pretty good team, but these are the freaking Dodgers. But you made a great point. I think that people get focused on the Devers trade and the obviously all the Anthonys and all of them coming up from the farm, but the acquisition of Crochet has been great from the beginning. Obviously that's been a home run of an acquisition, but Giolito and Brian Bayo sort of showing up and being the pitchers we expected or hoped they would be. That's been the biggest thing. And but what a shocker it is when the pitching is good, they start to win. I know it's a mind-blowing concept.
Wasn't that crazy?
We have to check the analytics. You got to check the analytics on that. But by improving their pitching, they started winning more games. And by the way, they've had a lot. Buehler and Houck have been, not good. So they've not been having good years. If they just rise to mediocre for the final, let's say, third of the season, mediocre is better than bad. That's why, sometimes it's just be because is better than Houck's 8.04 ERA or Walker Buehler thinking he's still pitching for you're here now. You're pitching here now. And I'm not a Chapman fan. I've never been a Chapman fan, but he's having an undeniably terrific season on the mound this year. When it comes to the trade deadline, I'm not touching their offense right now because I like Duran, what he's doing. I like the way things are clicking. I would like them to focus on find a couple more arms and get two more arms. Ideally, you'd get one more arm in the rotation, or cross your fingers that Buehler or Houck can come back and have a good final third of the season. But give them some bullpen depth so they can, they have some pitchers who can go deeper into games, which is great, but you don't want to have to rely on that. I take my chances I don't know if this is a pennant winner, but certainly to make the playoffs for the first time since 2021.
Yeah, this team feels like it's in a lot better shape than the teams of the last few years, because people were saying, well, we've seen this before where the Red Sox went on a hot streak into the All-Star break, and then they came out of the All-Star break and everything just kind of fell apart in the second half of the season. Their second halves the last couple years have not been good, but this just feels like a team that has the better roster makeup to be able to make a run. And I'm with you on the trade deadline. It will be interesting to see how they navigate that situation, because the outfield situation is very strong right now. And the Red Sox have a good problem right now with an overload of outfielders right now. And the question becomes, do they move one of those outfielders to get pitching? And that's going to be something that I think they're going to have to navigate as the trade deadline gets closer, is what is the asking price for some of these pitchers that they're eyeing? Because there could be a possibility that we see a Duran or an Abreu potentially be considered in a package for pitching because of the fact that their outfield situation right now is just on overload. And with how well Roman Anthony and Cedar Rafaela, he's been taking huge leaps this season too offensively. I don't think enough people are really talking about how much he's improved at the plate this year, and being the 9 hitter, that's really helped balance out the Red Sox lineup. Mm-hmm. So the way that those two have been hitting so far, Roman Anthony, he's been impressive since his call up. It'll be interesting to see how they go about that outfield situation, but I do feel like they have a really balanced lineup now, especially with Bregman and Yoshida back in there. I just feel like it would be hard to separate what they have. And Abreu in particular, the offense that he provides, that would be a huge loss if they were to move him at the deadline.
Yeah, I wouldn't see. I'm really, I don't know. Maybe I'm weird this way, but I know they have a lot of outfielders. Okay, but I also feel like a lot of times those problems solve. Inevitably, like, oh, someone pulled a hamstring. Well, thank goodness. I'm like. Oh, there's not enough at bats for everybody. baseball, kind of like Jurassic Park, life finds a way. Baseball finds a way to make sure everyone gets their at-bats. I love that Bregman, who came off the bench today and smacked a home run, that
awesome.
I was alone in my house, and I said some words that would give us an adult rating on the podcast. So let's just say I said, yes, yippee. And it seems like Trevor Story is going to be one of those years where if you look at his overall stats, it was okay. And then you watch him, inevitably he got the double that drove into at a key moment. I mean, he's had a bunch of those moments that have just been tremendous. I did not have Carlos Narvaez on my bingo card being a significant player on this team.
Me either. He's been
nobody did. But yeah, he's just been a huge, huge pickup, and you take a look and you see Jordan Hicks and then you see Connor Wong and say, okay, yeah, that's a good return for Mookie Betts and Rafael Devers. But I'm sorry. You were saying you could trade something for like Duran. I'm going well, hopefully we'll get more than Jordan Hicks and some spare parts. But by the way, they better go on a shopping spree this offseason. Remember that show Supermarket Sweep, where they're running down with the shopping carts, grabbing the stuff off of the supermarket and throwing it in? That's what I want our offseason to be like. Okay, I can't make this any clearer.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever saw the Richard Pryor film Brewster's Millions, that he has to spend like $30 million in a month to get $300 million. That's what I want. I want that. Just keep throwing money at stuff. I want every major free agent.
It was nice to see them actually spend some money, this year.
They better now.
Alex Bregman's contract and then the extension of Garrett Crochet. I'm like, wow, the Red Sox know how to spend money. So let's keep doing that. That's very good. You want to spend money. And I think the other thing too, when it comes to just this team in general right now and heading into the trade deadline, that I do think needs to be considered is the first base situation. I mean, obviously, Abraham Toro, he's been doing, I can't even emphasize enough how well he's been doing too. And just like how much of a surprise he has been. He kind of came out of nowhere too. Like nobody had expectations for him when he got called up. And that's been exciting to think about. And, the platoon of him and Romy, I think has been good. But it definitely doesn't feel sustainable. So I would be interested in seeing if they try to acquire a first baseman at the deadline as well.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to make some predictions about what's going to happen. And also what would satisfy us short of a World Series title.
Yeah, I don't want to say that he has a sports gambling problem, but my husband might have a sports gambling problem, and that is all thanks to FanDuel. He started using it about a year ago, and literally every morning now just goes and makes a list of every game that's being played that day, no matter what sports are going on, and then he goes in and he places his bets for that day, and he takes it really seriously, and it's honestly made him a lot of money, and it's really funny watching him do it, but it's so funny to watch that all unfold. And summer with baseball, WNBA, maybe if you're a soccer person, all kinds of sports going on in the summer that you can bet on using FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. If you want to win lots of money, that is the way to do it, folks. Download the app today.
And this has been an intervention. All right, get that FanDuel thing out of there. All right. So the Red Sox are going to be starting their series on Monday in Philadelphia. The first game is a bear. It's an absolute bear because Walker Buehler is pitching for the Sox. And he has been, it's not been his best year. And Zach Wheeler is pitching for Philadelphia, and he's a Cy Young candidate. But the beauty of baseball is we've seen matchups that look like oh, this is a mismatch. And then next year, I remember during Pedro's peak in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a couple of games. Oh, it's Pedro Day.
Yeah.
It's Pedro Day. And there was one game against the Marlins. And I read, it's Pedro Day. It's Pedro Day. And then Pedro got his butt handed to him. It can happen.
Yeah, you
it
really
can happen. And also, Wheeler's had a layoff, So sometimes pitchers coming off of a long break, you jump on them early.
Yeah, it's like when we say it's crochet day, but then the Red Sox never give him run support. So you can't even always feel like that's going to be a win because they don't score runs for him. So you really never know with pitching matchups these days. Obviously does not look like a favorable matchup for the Red Sox, but if they could get to Wheeler early, get his pitch count up early, then they definitely have a shot in that game.
Right.
It's just going to be a tough series. Philly's no joke of a team. They're on the road. They really need to try to come out after the big win in the series finale against the Cubs. They really need to continue that same level of offensive production that we've seen with some key hits, driving in runners in scoring position, because that's something that for a lot of this season, the Red Sox have struggled to do. And then during this whole streak that we've seen that's been fun as of late of them winning games, they've been able to hit in those types of situations with runners on and been able to capitalize. And that's something I'm going to be looking at to see them hopefully continue is, jumping on these pitchers early and hopefully try to get their pitch count up as early as they can in that game.
I think they could use another bat in their lineup. And I'm currently in the Bay Area. And by the way, you talk about a great pitcher who gets bad run support. I mean, Logan Webb of San Francisco, he could throw a masterpiece. And you're like, yeah, but he loses so many games 2-1 or 1-0. Yeah. So, but the I think the Red Sox should talk to the Giants because they have a left-handed bat named Rafael Devers, and maybe if they can work out a deal like sending him Jordan Hicks and a couple of minor leaguers, and by the way, I went to a game in when the Red Sox played the Giants. I went there and I saw Devers hit a home run, and I said, usually I've enjoyed Rafael Devers homers. There's something about this one that feels weird. I can't put my finger on it. I can't.
Yeah, I know it doesn't.
I poo-pooed all the people because I like whenever people talk about the clubhouse this, the clubhouse that. When are you ever in the clubhouse? Yeah. And it's also like I've been reading all these books about the A's in the 70s and the Yankees in the 70s. When the A's clinched the pennant in 1970, when they won the ALCS in Detroit, what happened? During the celebration in the clubhouse, a brawl broke out. The punches were flying as they were celebrating winning the American League Championship. I was like, yeah, that seems like a nice, harmonious clubhouse. I mean, it's like just win games. I don't care if you like each other. I don't care if you go miniature golfing or go to Papagino's or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Go to Shoppers World. I don't care.
Just win baseball.
How many more of those can I throw out there right now? Go to Canopy Lake Park together. Go to Canopy Lake Park together. I don't care. Go to Nahat. I don't go to Buzzy's Fabulous Roast Beef. I don't think that exists anymore. I think I'm dating myself with some of my Boston references. Go to Revere Beach. I don't care. Just win games. But hey, I mean, look, they went from non-contending to contending. So what do something's happening here. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Gabby, whatever you're calling yourself these days. I'll tell you what, for me, as a native New Englander who has to be, I don't pretend to be that I don't have favorite teams. I'm doing the flagship show, but yeah, I was born and raised in New England. Whatever you want from me. For me, a satisfactory, short of a World Series championship, to me, a satisfactory season would be making the playoffs and getting out of the wild card round. Just making the playoffs would be good because they've been irrelevant for so long. But a 2-and-out October would be like, okay, but like something to build on, like a moment to build on. I don't think this team is better than Houston.
No.
I don't think this team is better than Detroit.
Definitely
so I don't see them getting I didn't think they were better than Tampa Bay in 2021 either, but that was neither here nor no one did.
That team I did not think had any business being in the ALCS.
Nope, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like, so that to me is get in the playoffs and get a memorable moment to build, like a big highlight to build upon that when they go on their shopping spree with that Devers money. What would be short of a title and a duck boat parade? That the Celtics, is the last duck boat parade that they've seen in Boston. And really, Boston fans deserve a break. I mean, they've only had, how many championships? It's been a while.
It's a championship here.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years, but
it's a long time.
But yeah, there's a lot. Tell that to Buffalo fans, but tell it to New York fans for that matter. The New York fans who don't care about the WNBA. They're thank God for the liberty for them.
I know.
But what would be a satisfying conclusion to this season for you?
Yeah, I think making the playoffs for sure would be. I think that would be a win of a season. I mean, I know everybody's like, we need to win the World Series because that's what Boston fans do, but we really don't. This is a young baseball team with lots of young talent, and the idea is you're trying to build the correct roster and the correct pieces around the young players so that they can thrive. And I do like the idea of them having a mix of veterans and young talent right now. You have Bregman, you have Buehler, you have Chapman, you have Story, veterans to surround these young players with. And I think this season really is about getting back into contention and showing that you have momentum and you're moving in the right direction. If the Red Sox fail to make the playoffs this year, that would definitely be seen as a failure to me of a season. I think they need to make the playoffs in order to get fans back on board with the direction that this team is going in, because then you can make the playoffs and say, okay, we have a lot of the pieces in place. Now let's focus this offseason on really rounding out that roster so we can truly try to contend for a deeper run next year. So for me, I'm looking at, okay, let's try to make the playoffs. Obviously, we want to win in the playoffs. That's ideal. And I know Red Sox fans just want a championship. I get it. But I do think if they make the playoffs this year, people should be really happy with that, because then they know this team is moving in at least the right direction in terms of the way that they're constructing this roster moving forward.
Let me tell you why I think it's important that they not just make the playoffs, but have a big moment. I'm going to use last year's Tigers as an example. That they were actually sellers at the deadline, and they were this close. They were shopping Scooble and decided to keep them. They went on that rampage in August and September. They got to the playoffs, and then they eliminated Houston. And they took Cleveland to Game 5. I mean, they had Tarek Skubal on the mound in Game 5. They had that home run off of Clase. They showed some great guts, and that young Tigers team. Okay, they weren't ready to make the World Series last year. I understand that, but that team, a lot of young players were on that team, and they had that experience of making it to the playoffs and having those big moments, those big highlights. That let's build on that. For players, look at, you have some veterans like Story and Bregman, of course, but for young players like Campbell, like Abreu, like Duran, like Rafaela, like Marcelo Meyer, like Romy Gonzalez and Roman Anthony and Garrett Crochet for that matter, Bello for that matter, Hunter Dobbins if he's on, all these players that this would be their first playoff experience, and give them that one positive moment like what Detroit had last year, and they built on that big time. Yeah. And look at where they are right now. I actually, if I was like your husband had a gambling problem and was on FanDuel, I would actually put my money on Houston for the AL pennant, just because I'm like, we're sleeping on them, I think, and I think they're going to show up in October.
And
but Detroit is certainly,
the Astros always show up when it counts in the postseason. Yeah. It's really
except last year against Detroit. Except last year against Detroit, but they have a chip on their shoulder. But certainly Detroit is going to be a favorite to get at least to the ALCS, and I think that's in no small part for the fact that a very young team got their first taste of the playoffs last year, and got their first taste of not only making the playoffs but some success in the playoffs. And I want to see that for this Boston team, for this young team, to get a little bit of taste of like, oh, that's what October felt like. Oh, we had the Crochet game or something like that. So that when they go on their supermarket sweep, they can right now they can go out and build on that, and those young players could build on that. And then 2020, what year is it? Is it still?
I don't even know. 2025.
Is it 2025? I thought it was 1990. Every once in a while I have to remind myself it's no longer 1997. It'll happen to you when you get older, Gabby. It will happen.
I'm not looking forward to those days.
Yeah, but look at it. This used to be black. This hair used to be black. Now if I grow it out, I have the George Washington wig look. But at least it's on my head. That's what the Red Sox should be building for, is that October moment, shopping spree, and then 2026, they might be favored to win the pennant.
That would be cool. That'd be really cool. And I do think that's another reason why having a guy like Alex Bregman here is so valuable come playoff time. If the Red Sox make the playoffs, which hopefully they do, having a guy who's so experienced with winning in October and just knows what it's like to play on that big stage, that's a guy who could be tremendously helpful come October for these younger players on this Red Sox roster. So obviously he's been providing a lot of value on the field, but the value he provides off of it, I would argue, is even more important to this Red Sox team, because we already know that guys like Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony have learned a lot from him already. But imagine just the influence he can have on this young team going into the playoffs. So I think from an experience standpoint, that's something that could really allow this team to grow if they get that taste of October this year.
Yeah. And by the way, another Bay Area connection here, especially for someone who's going to the Hall of Fame next week. I remembered that when the A's had all those great sluggers like McGuire and Canseco, and they had Terry Steinbach, a lot of them. And a lot of those players have said that when Dave Parker showed up to the team, there was a guy who had been MVP, World Series champion, everything. Don Baylor and Dave Parker showed up in the clubhouse at the same time in that team. And all of a sudden, a lot of things started falling into place. And having a veteran like, you don't mess with those two. Those are two former MVPs, World Series champions, and all those things. And that clubhouse was like, okay, we got it. And you saw how the A's, until the Gibson home run that year, but like that, everything, fired in all cylinders. Bregman could be that similar role. And again, I think they should think about making a deal with San Francisco. They got to get him Devers, who has a World Series championship. And
I think I've heard of him before, actually, now that you mention it.
Give him a shot. Gabby, where can people follow your show?
Yeah, people can follow Locked On Red Sox on YouTube or any other podcast platform of your desire. You can also follow it on Twitter at @LO_Red Sox, where you can hear about all kinds of guests that I am bringing on the show. I have brought some players on the show and have gotten interviews with them. So make sure that you subscribe to the show today, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, if you're a Sox fan or just a baseball fan, Locked On Red Sox has absolutely been killing it. Great guests, great interviews, just great shows have been going on. Just please check it out. Thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, obviously make it Locked On Red Sox. But for your third listen, come back to this feed on the Locked On MLB feed and catch Locked On MLB Game Night. Every night all season long, at local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night right here at Locked On MLB on the YouTubes, wherever you listen to your podcast. And it is time for the trivia question. The trivia question, I decided to make it Red Sox oriented. So put the answers down. I won't say it. Put the answers down here on YouTube. And that is, who are the only two managers to lead the Red Sox to multiple World Series titles? Alex Cora wants to make it 3. Only 2 managers have said, oh, yeah, a Red Sox World Championship that I managed? Which one? Only 2 can say that. Who are they? You probably know one of them. The other one? Well, let's just say he sounds like he's from Boston. So, talking about the crazy and completely unpredictable American League East with Gabby Maljanian, the host of Locked On Red Sox. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.